Welcome back to actually the Meet Kevin podcast. We're going to do it over here because we've got earnings today, and it's kind of easy to do it here because we do all the live stuff here. So say hello again to Mikey, and McKay is back. We found him. He came back from, what was that? What is it called? A Mormon temple? Yeah, okay, they're temples. Okay, I always have to get that straight. I thought it was a church. No, you told me there's a difference between the two. Okay, I guess the temple's in LA and the church is in, okay, whatever. Anyway, so today we got Rivian, Upstart, Lyft, Wynn, Twilio, Reddit, Toast, Dutch Bros, Joby Aviation. There are even some more in here. I think EA reports today. There's so much reporting today. Market going into the close is only up about 10 basis points on the Qs, although you're getting a slight little rally there into the close. Tesla keeps getting rejected by its, well, actually, I can pull this up on screen here in a moment here. But this morning we played an option on Tesla. I can show that on screen here. We've got this line is so powerful. It's the 178.38, and we played it right here with calls, and we double bounced here. We played the run a little bit, which was great. But look at what happened later if you held on to it more. Made some profit on it, but we actually fell below that 178 and got rejected 1, 2, 3, coming up on almost 4 rejects here. So that 178, pretty powerful right now. That used to be the 183. But watch what happened with Tesla this morning. Tesla this morning, look at that reject. Almost perfectly at 183. So remember, if you haven't yet gotten all your stock buy sell alerts, make sure to join the Stocks and Psychology Money group linked below. But we'll watch the market going into the close today, and then we got a lot of topics to talk about today. We're also going to talk about that Trump trial. Did y'all see the like it went into detail on like the sex positions? It's going to be really entertaining. So we'll be covering Trump. We'll be covering a little bit about the Apple iPad event, Dave & Buster's, what they're doing with the Dave & Buster's app. We'll cover that. Trump debating RFK. We've got that. A little bit of some updates on TikTok, as well as a potential competitor to Tesla's full self-driving. This is a really interesting one. I'm excited to hear from both of your opinions on that one. We've got some more on potentially Trump going to jail for contempt of court, and is Rikers ready for him? That's a crazy jail. I was looking at this earlier. This was wild. Apparently, there was a plane crash in the late 50s. It was like 1957. There was a plane crash. Plane took off from LaGuardia Airport, crashed on Rikers Island, the jail. And the inmates who helped rescue survivors from the plane crash got reduced sentences.
That's cool.
So if you're ever in jail or prison,
get your homie to crash the plane into the building
and rescue people.
Right, and rescue people. Right.
My goodness. Anyway, so all right. I hear you also have some bets going into earnings here. So what are the bets? Tell me what y'all got.
We took opposite sides on Rivian. I'll let McKay explain his position and his reasoning first, and then I'll tell you my position and my reasoning.
This is all my own thoughts. Nobody is influencing me, by the way. So I decided to buy Rivian puts going into earnings because there's a lot of Apple rumors that there's some sort of partnership or some sort of collaboration with Apple. And Rivian has run up 15% in the last 5 days, 16% now because of it. And I think that Lucid has done this in the past in an earnings call. They squash rumors like, no, this isn't happening. That could lead to a massive crash in the stock and reduce that 15% gain. Tesla's missed deliveries. Lucid had a rough earnings call. And so I just think that it's natural that Rivian will have a rough earnings call as well. There's not much more to the thesis other than that. I kind of made up the thesis after I bought the options. I was like, yeah, this makes sense.
You had to have something to play.
I had to have something. But hey, right now I'm up 7.5% with a total return of $20.
Hell yeah.
Buy you another monster over there.
Thank you. And so you took the opposite side.
I took the opposite side. So my thesis, it's as simple as I found out McKay bought puts. And so I matched him like, how many puts did you buy? He's like, I bought 5 puts. I was like, all right, I'll buy 5 calls.
Wow. Okay. So, and y'all are on the, what is it, the $9.50 here? Did you both take the opposite sides of the same strike?
No,
Friday?
same strike.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're both out of the money. I took an $11 and then you went $9.50?
Oh, okay,
yeah.
so you went 70 cents out and you went also about 70 cents out. Oh, so you had about the same spread. Okay, very cool. So, yeah, the implied volatility, well, it's insane for Rivian today, but the expected movement is about 15% on earnings. So we'll see what happens if we end up getting that kind of movement. Let me see if it's changed. That was as of this morning. So both of y'all are really looking for, so you don't get so crushed when the market opens, y'all looking for a movement in excess probably of 15%. Let's take a look at the estimates for Rivian. They really got to reduce their cash burn, so we'll see what happens. Oh, okay, it's at 14. Oh, it's actually, that's what it was this morning, 14.93. That's basically the implied one-day movement. So anything less than that won't be good enough for you. So let's see if we can get that. You know, what's interesting is if you look at, we can go on the chart here, Christian. You can look at the low here. You're at 826 on the low. That's the lowest it's ever been. Next stop for Rivian might be somewhere around that $13 range for you, Mikey, if you're trying to push that, somewhere between maybe $12.65 and $13. And McKay, you're really probably going to hope for it to, frankly, get under $9.50, certainly, but just to offset all that implied volatility, you almost want to get under 9.
Yeah.
So could happen if you get some smashingly horrible report. Anyway, all right, so we'll see what happens. Tesla's not very happy today. Tesla, again, continuing to reject off of that 178 line. Not great for keeping that enthusiasm up on Tesla. Probably those extra layoffs didn't help. Did you guys hear about that? The extra layoffs?
Yeah, I heard that there was additional layoffs.
You know, I keep seeing, and I know these are anecdotes, but and the plural of anecdote isn't data, but I keep seeing these stories of people that, like one person was looking for a job. They got laid off in December. They're looking for a job for like 3 or 4 months. Finally, they're like, oh my gosh, my dream. I landed a job at Tesla. Then like 72 hours before they're supposed to pick up their employee badge, sorry, your position's been terminated before it even began. It's like, do you imagine the roller coaster?
So I can see how front-facing that looks really bad. But I mean, if you're an investor, Elon's cutting costs into what will be difficult times, and we know that Tesla has a difficult delivery road ahead. So you're seeing this wartime CEO that we've talked about making these difficult decisions. And as terrible as it may be that people lose their jobs, and obviously we don't want people to lose their jobs, we also want the companies that we invest in to succeed. And sometimes CEOs have to make tough decisions like reducing headcount. So in terms of the business and the numbers, it probably is better for the business, although for the individual it is very difficult.
Yeah, it's tough because it's so sensitive for individuals. What do you think about that, Mikey? Tesla cutting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it reflects poorly. Like if you're an employee that doesn't look good, you don't have much motivation. You see a lot of people getting cut, and you're thinking, all right, I might be next. So you might even start looking for employment somewhere else. It sucks right before you start to get cut too. Like it doesn't look good. Period. With that said, I do agree with McKay in that Elon Musk has. I mean, Tesla's around today because he's done this before. He took over as CEO over a decade ago without wanting to be CEO and did the same thing, cut, and it basically saved the company from going down under. Then again, he tried to do the same thing with Twitter, and that didn't really work out. So I don't know. It's not good as an employee, but I'm not too worried from an investor perspective.
I'm doing a last-minute trade here. I'm actually watching Palantir dump into the close, and so I'm making a move. I just sent it to everyone in the Stocks and Psych group. I don't know. That could be a bad idea, but it's a very risky one. But this sucker, I have not seen it sell off that much all day. I've been waiting for a little sell-off on that. So we just dumped into the close. Look at that volume that went into that close. Massive volume into the close there. So that's going to be my bet, is that we get a bounce on Palantir tomorrow. I wish I saw that earlier, but I just saw it in the last minute or two. So there's really, really short notice on that one. But those are the sort of things I'm looking at, and I'm watching this potential floor somewhere above that 21 level. So we'll see if we get a bounce tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm going to get theta decayed and burned on that one. But we'll see what happens there. So Bitcoin falling into the close as well. Not great here. Let's go ahead and disconnect from this, and let's zoom out and see what kind of earnings we're getting here. So, and then we'll get into the Trump trial and some of the other. Do we dare say juicy thing? That's probably not the right word to use. Anyway, we'll touch on that a little later. So, okay, we're waiting for earnings now. So, lot of expected movement. Toast, Dutch Bros, Joby Aviation, Rivian, waiting for Reddit as well. Reddit should be out here. What do y'all think about Reddit? Are they
Reddit
actually going to monetize?
This will be their first time reporting publicly, won't it?
First earnings call.
Yeah.
Yep. That's are they? I think the biggest mover for them is going to be if they can get any kind of more AI contracts. I actually don't really think they will.
I actually did a Reddit piece on eHack a couple of days ago. Let me pull it up.
Ooh.
Oh, not a couple days ago, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, you slacker. Okay, so still no earnings here. Waiting. Mikey, do you have Webull up? Maybe you can pull up some of the movement as we get the sticks once they do go. Otherwise, I'll grab it in a sec. But we will... Taking a peek here at the time frame for when these come out. These are all coming out pretty rapidly within the next 5 to about 10 minutes here. So we'll see those in just a moment. Waiting for the data. Still nothing on Rivian, Reddit, Upstart, Win, Toast, Dutch Bros, Joby Aviation, all on standby at the moment. Looking at the calendar, we have... Oh, there you go. There's your cable.
I don't have Webull on this laptop yet.
Oh, no worries.
My new
Take your
work
time.
laptop.
No, that's all right. So then we've got, I'll pull it up in a bit, unless you can get it in. But Rivian's estimated for 4:10, so they're going to be a little later, so in about 8 minutes. Lyft is another one. Yep, we have them up. They're at 4:05. Upstart's at 4:05. Win is supposed to be right at 4. Okay, Win comes in with a beat. Adjusted EPS of 159. The estimate was 133. And we're looking for, let's see, operating revenue comes in at 186 versus the 1.8 billion, so 1.86. So that's a double beat there. And we don't have forecast here, but that looks like a beat across the board there on Win. So Win moving. Let's see what we have for Win Resorts, up about 1.4%, so somewhat nominal on the movements there so far. We'll see what we get out of earnings calls. But big tell on the consumer. And we were looking at some earnings calls this morning, and let's just say in the course member live stream when we were looking at Etsy, it wasn't good. Upstart beats, though. How interesting. Upstart at 127.8 million in revenue versus the 125.2. And still waiting, of course, for the others that are expected within the next 2 minutes here. Upstart. Do you remember that viral video at like the top of the market where the guys, they ask on CNBC, so what does Upstart actually do? And the guy, You know, it's not a company that I'm highly interested in investing in, but it's had some major volatility as really just this lending play and platform for people to shop loans. What's interesting is they actually halted this stock right before the earnings came out for news pending. So I don't know. I mean, normally we don't halt stocks for like earnings news pending. Usually halt stocks for some form of other news. Maybe they're getting acquired or something. I mean, what's the valuation on them? Upstart right now, let's see here. They are Upstart stock. They are, they're down 4.5% today. $2 billion market cap. They could easily get acquired. I wonder if someone like a SoFi could just gobble them up. You know, SoFi is about 3 times the size of Upstart, but boy, what a move that would be. They, after all, did get naming rights on that stadium. Mm-hmm. Top of the market, man. That's the time to like, what did you do at the top of the market? Oh, I bought a stadium. Naming rights. That's kind of cool. All right, next earnings are about 15 seconds out, so let's see which one of y'all can make a move here. We are looking at Rivian, and Reddit. No numbers just yet. Upstart, more data coming out. Ooh, revenue for Q2 is actually a miss, expecting 125 million versus 139.5. So not fantastic on those Upstart forecast numbers. Wins now up about 3.5%. Still waiting for... Okay, Lyft comes in with 187.7 million rides versus the 186 expected. Could you imagine having a company that does 186 million rides?
That's
like, how
so
many per
much.
day is that? That's like 2 million a day.
186
Yeah,
for the last quarter?
In a quarter, yeah, times 90. That's about 2 million rides a day.
Wow.
So in a 24-hour time frame, that's 7.5 million per hour. 7.5 divided by 60, that's 120,000 Lyft rides per minute.
That's insane. That's so much volume.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's really wild. So Q2 gross bookings about 4 to 4.1. The estimate, it's actually slightly better than expected. So a little better than expected across the board on a Lyft. Let's see if Rivian's out yet.
Wow.
No Rivian yet. What do you got?
What's crazy is Lyft is only valued at around $7 billion and Uber's $146 billion.
I know. I made a video about that when I was talking about the Tesla Robotaxi. I'm like, you know, Tesla basically added 6 lifts to its valuation when they added $50 billion in a day after announcing robotaxis. And so what's remarkable is I think of Lyft and Uber as so similar, but just the valuation disparity is massive between the two. I guess just Uber's probably first to mind on all of them.
Probably. I wonder how many rides per quarter Uber does.
Well, Uber does about $37 million $37 billion worth of gross revenue. So about 30 times Lyft.
Yeah, 144 billion rides per quarter.
Wait, 144 billion?
1.4 billion.
Oh, 1.44. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that's wild. Okay, still waiting for Rivian here. It looks like we're about 2 minutes late on Rivian, waiting for Reddit. Lyft shares up about 11% on that. You've got Toast comes in with a slight beat here, 57 million adjusted EBITDA. The estimate was only 23.6. That's actually a good beat. And you've got Dutch Bros boosting guidance. Ooh, adjusted EPS Q1 9 cents versus 1.7 expected. Revenue beats 275. These are good earnings. These are really good. Dutch Bros beats. You've got Lyft beating. You've got Win beating. I don't know. So far, these are all looking pretty good. It's just not, once again, an economy that feels like it's cratering just yet. Reddit, and they come in with a beat on Q2 forecast and a beat on active users. 82.7 million active users versus 77.3 expected. Q2 forecast coming in at a midpoint of 247 versus the expectation of 227. 247 divided by 227, that's about an 8.9% beat. And their revenue also beats at 243 versus 211. It's a 15% beat. Reddit, that's really a nice beat by Reddit. Still nothing on Rivian. Win's only up about 2% right now. You've got Rivian. I don't have the numbers yet, but it's up about 3%. So I don't know if somebody's leaking the news or what. And then you've got, let's see here, Lyft. Lyft is moving up about 6%. And Reddit after that is moving 16%. It's actually going back to one of my lines. That's crazy. I have a line drawn for Reddit. Looks like this line is drawn. You can share the screen on this one if you'd like, Christian. This line is drawn here at 57.82. And I think we just got rejected at 58.98 is where we got rejected, but we're under that 57.82 level. So what a movement, though, from about 49 up right there. And here's Win, here's Lyft stabilizing a little bit after some of those numbers. Let's go ahead and pull off this screen, and let's see if we've got Rivian yet. Waiting. Still waiting for Rivian. I think that's what everybody's excited about.
I'm trying to figure out why Upstart's halted. I want to see.
Yeah, we still don't have that news. I mean, they're just going through their earnings. I mean, I guess they could have requested a halt for some reason, but Toast up 9% after beating. How's Dutch Bros doing?
Disney had a rough day as well today.
Yeah,
Missing EPS. Oh wait, no EPS. Yeah.
It was the subscriber numbers miss that they hit them. Dutch Bros up 9% in after hours now. So Dutch Bros rallies, Reddit rallies 16%, Lyft up only about 4.7 here. Win's only up about 2. Everybody's waiting for Rivian though. All these others doing really well here. So congratulations to Reddit. They see their second quarter is actually being profitable on an adjusted basis.
Wow.
Adjusted meaning they add back in stock comp. The estimate was negative 13 mil. Upstart, Q2 Rev. The Q2 Rev, the forecast on Upstart Q2 is not that great. And so they're still halted though, so I can't see what's going on with their stock. Uber's moving up about 3% in sympathy to Lyft. It's only up about 2% now. So we'll see what happens. Still waiting on Rivian. I think Rivian is moving their earnings as fast as they're moving the manufacturing line.
Lucid's up in the after hours by about 3.5% right now. Unless something came up, maybe just following Rivian's earnings.
Hope, yeah, it's hope.
Fisker down 13.5. How are they still around?
I will say there's a chance that Lucid move could just be sort of like expecting a bounce for tomorrow. Usually when these stocks are down 15%, they bounce. There's no guarantee. It's a total guess. Like Palantir is not bouncing so far. Anything can change tomorrow morning, but right now they continue to sort of bleed into the afters, down another 33 basis points. I think you get a 2 or 3% bounce on that sucker at least tomorrow. I like it. I like Palantir. I know they were a little negative on their earnings call though, so yeah. Anyway, average revenue per user in the quarter. Guess how much money Reddit makes per quarter on their users?
Per quarter per user?
Per quarter per user. If you're a user on Reddit, how
much are you worth to Reddit?
Like per quarter, exactly. Yeah, what do you think? Would it be pennies? Would
like
it
Mikey
be
would know.
quarters? Like how many quarters? Would it be tens of dollars, 20s of dollars? What do you think you're worth? Singles?
Per user,
What
it's
do you
got to
think,
be
Mike?
pennies. I mean, I'm on Reddit all the time, but I don't think I've ever like clicked on an ad or like even hovered too long over an ad or anything. I don't think they've made much money for me.
I wonder how much money they make off of people like boosting other comments. You know how they give
The
those
gold,
awards?
You buy gold, yeah. Reddit
Yeah,
gold.
everybody's got all like you look at some of those comments, just like ding 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 ding, ding. Like the amount of spending that goes into those. Wouldn't be surprised if that's where they make a lot of money. But anyway, the answer is $2.94.
That's surprising.
That's a lot. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty impressive. They still lost money in Q1. They still lost $575 million in Q1. So their net sucks. They spend it all on their staff or servers or whatever, R&D or whatever they make up. Maybe trying to find somebody to give them an AI contract. You know, Palantir had a really good argument, which made me a little disappointed, but I still like Palantir a lot. This idea that only about 10% of companies are actually AI data ready. In other words, every company wants to use their data with AI, but they're just not AI ready. So it's like, here's all our data, and Palantir must look at it and go, this sucks.
Yeah. While we're waiting for Upstart and Rivian, what did you think about Tesla sending Tom Zhu back to China? He was supposed to be the successor of Musk, and looks like he kind of got
Booted back to China. I mean, maybe he's needed over there. You know, Elon was just there, so maybe it's sort of like, hey, how can we get the FSD rollout completed appropriately? Who can we put here that we trust? Elon obviously trusts the guy a lot. Otherwise, he would have been fired at this point. Jeez, I mean, that's how you know you're still liked by Elon, is you still have your job. I don't know. Maybe that's insensitive to all the people who get fired, and I feel terrible about that, as we mentioned earlier. But some people I know speculated that it could have been because of the Model Y potential refresh. This idea that it's going to go through a refresh like the Model 3 went through. I don't know. I mean, you guys notice a difference on the 3s when they drive by on the roads.
Oh, yeah, totally different.
I guess I just don't pay attention enough. But I personally, I'd rather buy a Y at this point with where the pricing is. Rivian! Okay, adjusted loss per share. Loss came in a little larger than expected, 124 versus the expected loss of 115. They still expect a loss, a fiscal year loss of 270, which is less than the estimate of expected. So some mixed news here. And they actually delivered more vehicles than expected.
Wow.
13,588 vehicles
Good for them.
delivered versus the expectation of 12,475. Q1 cash and cash equivalents less than expected, coming in at just under $6 billion versus the expectation of just over $7 billion. They're going to have to raise money soon. They actually produced less vehicles than expected as well, probably because they're trying to align production with actual deliveries. And their revenue comes in at $1.2 billion versus the estimate of $1.18. So a little mixed here. You lost a little more money per share than expected, but they scaled back production a little bit and delivered more vehicles than expected. So I would look at this as not as bad as it could have been, but it's not great. They're scaling back production and you have less cash. The biggest risk for Rivian is that you end up getting a stock that just goes bankrupt or a company that goes bankrupt. So less cash, that would make me the most nervous. I get nervous about the cash position with Tesla as well. Now, people get mad at me for that. You get a lot of the Uber bulls that are like, yeah, $27 billion of cash. I go, have you looked at A, their free cash flow, and B, what Elon has said in terms of what they're going to spend in investments this year, and C, their payables? How about that? Bills to pay. Anyway.
How's the Rivian stock reacting to this?
We're both going to lose money tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's your worst case scenario is that you get sort of a benign movement on Theta Decay. Like, I really need a bounce on Palantir to make a buck on that one. I went in with a small bet on it. We'll see what happens. But Rivian down about 4.6, 4.8%.
Yeah, it's 9.79 right now.
Yeah,
Sure.
if you can get in the money and get that sucker down to 9.5, that's like your hope.
Yeah.
And maybe you can close early enough before the Theta Decay gets you. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I'd say we've got Uber still holding on to a couple percent, Lucid holding on to a couple percent. We can share this here if you'd like, Christian. We've got Webull going here. Lucid up 2.6, Uber up 1.9, Dutch Bros. Really nice rally on Dutch Bros there. I mean, that was a solid beat too. Zooming out there on the day chart. This 31.35 level is going to put you right about here. Puts you, I don't really see any particular. I mean, maybe puts you at these. Yeah, puts you right about where we got rejected in January. It's right about where we were. Closed about high 31s. So Reddit's the one that's really running. I don't think people were expecting them to make that much money per user. So good for Reddit. So we'll see what happens.
Are you $2? Okay. So are you sure this is the revenue per user? Are you sure this is not the average user's net worth? Like how much Redditors are worth? How much they have in their savings account?
No. Let's see. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm misreading
That's a
this.
shockingly high number. I mean, I believe you. That's just like shockingly high.
Reddit net worth per customer. Negative. That's it says it does say. I mean, we have to figure out what adjusted revenue per user is because that's what they're saying. Adjusted revenue per user is $2.94. So it's probably like, non-adjusted. It's a loss per user. And then they adjusted back for like brand value. Hey, they're here. One day we'll make value off them. Like those people on TikTok that do those. I'm a billionaire. How do you figure? Well, I take my $5,000 net worth and when I compound it by 37% per year for the next 40 years, I'm a billionaire. So therefore, I'm a billionaire today.
Mm-hmm. I remember reacting to that.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So whatever. But not as bad as expected. I mean, honestly, a 5% move on Rivian, really benign. Rivian or Upstart missed on guide. Reddit, shocking beat over here. Lyft beats, Win beats, Toast beats. Dutch Bros beats, Joby Aviation lost less money than expected. So good for them, I guess. But anyway, wow. That's overall, I think, better than expected for earnings. And that's been the theme this entire earnings season. Whether it was some of the big tech names, the Netflix, whatever, a lot of these companies just did better than expected. Now, some of the stocks still moved down, but the earnings actually came in better than expected. I think that might be why you're not seeing BTC break under that 63,000 level, but we'll see. So that does earnings for us. Let's move on to a little bit of Donnie T coverage. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
Little Donnie T. So apparently, Donnie T, Donald J. Trump, is falling asleep in court. A New York Times reporter found that when Stormy Daniels was talking about her defamation case against Trump, that Donald Trump appeared to be solidly asleep.
But Donald Trump said he was resting his beautiful eyes.
That's it. Yeah. Is that a crime to fall asleep in court?
It might be actually.
Or like disrespect or like
No, it might. You might be. Well,
like can
it
they
depends.
force you to stay awake?
I think if you're a juror, you can get in trouble for it. Because I remember we've been talked to when I've been in jury duty before about not
interesting.
falling asleep. But so
Okay.
Sleepy Dawn.
Sleepy Dawn. Oh, but I don't think Biden can pull off the nicknames. Could you imagine Biden going to an event? Sleepy Dawn.
Yeah, that doesn't hit right.
I don't think it's gonna work.
Like the sanctimonious. How do you come up with that? Like that's.
I think Trump has this really interesting strategy of basically just say whatever nicknames you can, and the ones that get the most cheers are the ones that stick. That's not a bad strategy. But anyway, apparently Stormy Daniels started her career as an exotic dancer at 17 in Louisiana strip clubs. She probably pretended to be 18. And the whole goal of the Stormy Daniels testimony here is to, from the Trump point of view, is to discredit her, is to make her seem like somebody who's out for money, that she sold this story because she wanted some dollars. She does talk about how she started off poor and basically living in poverty. I mean, she had to dance at strip clubs underage just to get by. And talks about how when she first met Donald Trump, apparently Trump asked one of the Trump bodyguards, this is her testimony, so mind you, everything we say here could be wrong. This is just her point of view. But her point of view was, it wasn't Trump who asked her to dinner. It was instead Trump who asked one of his bodyguards to ask her to go to dinner. But do we think that, potentially
I hate to make the comparison, but isn't that how Epstein did it? Didn't he go through people to go back to his house? Didn't he go through his Giselle? What's his name?
Yeah, they had all the schedulers, the bookers.
Yeah, the bookers.
Yeah,
like they would go
that's
through other
interesting.
people.
I mean, I guess there's an idea there, but then I feel like Trump would be like,
no,
I'm gonna do it.
I totally see like high net worth individuals not wanting to like get embarrassed in front of everybody and go and ask a girl and get denied. Go send somebody else to do it for you.
Interesting. What do you think about that, Mikey? Trump doesn't have the balls to ask her himself?
I don't know if Trump has the foresight to send somebody else. I
feel like he would just ask.
He would just ask.
Yeah,
I don't know. Just based on his personality, he's very direct like that. I feel like he just walk up and ask.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so apparently she, again, her suggestion gave Donald Trump a copy of one of her adult films that she wrote, directed, and starred in. She was 27 at the time. Trump called her one of the smart ones, and eventually, I guess, elevated to asking Stormy Daniels if she wanted to be on The Apprentice, because the idea was that what a great spot for The Apprentice. Let's take a beautiful blonde, Trump words, and put her on The Apprentice so that she could show that, quote, you're not just a dumb bimbo, you're smarter than people think. That does a little bit sound
backhanded compliment.
That sounds Trumpian, though. I will say that does sound Trumpian. Sounds like something you would say. And then this also sounds like something Trump would say. It would shake things up. It'd be huge. It would get lots of attention. These were some of her quotes. Obviously, I'm adding the intonation here. She suggested that she's not a business person, and therefore there's no way she could win. And then this actually broke my heart a little bit. I tweeted about this because, I grew up as a child watching Apprentice. I specifically appreciated the original ones before Celebrity Apprentice. I didn't really like the celebrity versions. I love the Bill Renzicks, the traditional Carolyn, and getting Ivanka in there. I love these. These are so great. The boardrooms and the challenges and everything. And apparently Stormy Daniels suggests that there is some rigging going on. And this broke my heart a little. Please don't tell me that, oh yeah, my sticker came off. Sorry, hold on. Taylor. There we go. Oh, here. Podcast. Right there. There we go.
Totally original merch.
There we go.
Thank you. So to whomever mentioned that in the comments, thank you. Anyway, apparently she alluded to there being some rigging, and call me shocked that reality TV would have some rigging. I realized that today, but it still ruins my childhood to hear
it's all right.
Trump alleging, what if I tell you what the challenges are? I have control. I could give somebody an edge to make sure you could at least make a good showing. And I think that's interesting because the worst thing that I feel like could happen is not that you don't win, but that you're the first out.
But she never made it on the show.
She didn't.
Why?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question.
Why do you think?
Yeah, I didn't think that far ahead.
Could Trump not close the deal? Isn't he like the master deal closer? Why couldn't he close the deal?
Maybe he didn't like it. If anything happened, if he did it. Never mind.
Is that an OJ reference?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, because remember, that's the crux of this case. It's not the Trump defense has literally leaned into this and has said covering up a fake story is not a crime. And so as a result, the Trump defense says this is like I shouldn't even be here in court. This is a waste of time. I should be campaigning. This is rigged. I'm in a 95% Democrat a pool of jurors, and it's a rigged a court case against me. And that's because their argument is that they did nothing wrong. That sure, we could cover up a fake story. What's wrong with that? Stormy Daniels has no credibility. That's where you also see Trump's attorney on cross-examination, drills Stormy, asking, am I correct to say that you hate President Trump? And Stormy replies, yes. Which is actually like, that kind of somewhat discredits her here. You're telling the jury, like, here's somebody who's on testimony saying they hate Trump. Now, of course, the defense is trying to build up. She wanted money. She hates Trump. She wants to see him in jail or punished. She says, quote, I want to see him be held accountable. Of course, the defense is going to do everything they can to discredit her, because as long as her story is deemed to be false by jurors, no crime. If her story comes across as true, that's going to be a problem for Trump. And there was a USA Today piece on what Americans think about this case. 44% of Trump supporters actually think he'll be found guilty of some form of verdict.
Well,
I thought that was actually a large number. But I think a lot of that is like the thesis that, oh, well, because it's rigged. Like, he'll be found guilty on some count,
I
right?
can see that, yeah.
86% of Biden supporters think Trump will be found guilty.
Self-explains itself.
Pretty much. But it all comes down to now, is the jury going to believe the story? Now, there are apparently some details of the sexual encounter. So maybe NSFW, is that not safe for work? But apparently, Stormy alleges that Trump did not wear a condom. And the judge started freaking out in the morning portion of the case, suggesting that some things are better off unsaid, and multiple times tried to shut this down. But apparently, we did get that Stormy said he was up on the bed like this as she leaned back into her chair and raised her bare right leg above the wooden panels. Okay. And then Stormy argues, quote, I had my clothes off and my shoes off. I believe my bra was still on. We were in the missionary position. The judge cuts him off because the defense objects. And the judge shuts that one down by sustaining that objection. So
correct me if I'm wrong, but Trump says this never happened, right? Or is he alleging that this never happened?
correct, that she's a liar.
So it's obviously in her benefit to give as many details as possible because that builds credibility.
Yeah.
But then the judge is like saying, stop, no details. But she's like, hey, this is like my story.
Yeah, because how do you prove those details if you don't? I mean, where's the stained dress? Where's the the picture, so to speak, right? With not saying that those things need to be there in order to say that they happened, but how do you go in front of a jury and prove that it happened? Well, her version is provide as much detail as possible, but at some point that rises to the level of hearsay. Like, at what point are you providing fact versus just rambling on? So at one point, I guess a female juror was shaking her head and had her head in her hand, probably because the details were getting a little bit too deep.
Katie. Trump's attorney tried to call for a mistrial on this. I don't know if you heard about this.
Yeah.
Because they were like, there's so many details in this testimony that would prejudice the jury against Trump, just like her saying that she hates Donald Trump. But the judge ended up declining that request.
Yeah, it's obviously a defensive argument to say, look, at this point, like, the cat's out of the bag, like, these things have been said, like, this is an unfair trial at this point. That sets up for an appeal. That's all they're really doing with that. Nobody actually thinks that because Stormy Daniels went into detail about what sexual position they were in and whether or not she was wearing a bra, nobody actually thinks this judge is going to turn the trial around at this point. But it's a great way to set up for the potential appeal in the future. Hey, we tried to declare a mistrial. They let her go on about all this, whatever. Here's your ground for appeal. So it makes sense. Makes sense for the Trump defense to do this, but I'm kind of curious to see what else happens here. Apparently, she says she was confronted in a Vegas parking lot and threatened to stay silent about Trump. Didn't report the incident, but I don't know. A lot of this is really like, I honestly, I wish this were televised.
Yeah.
So the American public could see her providing the testimony and the reaction of Trump.
Well, that made all the, like, if you think about it, that made all the difference in the Depp trial because you had the social sentiment attached. Like I watched the Depp trial minute by minute, and the entire social sentiment played a huge role in obviously the jury's not supposed to pay attention
It's
to
not
that.
supposed to. That's the issue. Is it's not supposed to play a role in what the jury decides. So that's one of the reasons you don't publicize these. But I think whether or not there's a guilty or innocent here, I do think it would be nice to see an actual video of Stormy providing this insight and Trump's reactions. Because, you know, if he's falling asleep during it or parts of it, apparently when she was giving some examples, apparently Trump's closing his eyes and leaning back into the chair. And it just makes you wonder, is he feeling uncomfortable? Is he feeling confident? It's hard to say just from notes that you get from reporters who obviously are going to have their own biases.
Yeah, and it's hard because like Amber Heard was like on paper crying, but very visually was like, it was a very forced cry and made everybody uncomfortable how uncomfortable she was. Like it wasn't natural. And I think a lot of those things would be helped if it was televised. But I mean, if you're, especially in a Democratic court, the last thing you want to do is give Trump like the most viewed platform in a courthouse. Like that's what everybody wants to see is Trump in a courthouse.
It's a good point. And there's that balance to make. Apparently now the takeaway in the comments is Kevin wants to see the video.
The only way she can prove to any degree what happened is she would have to describe in detail his
Features.
his features. You know, if you come in and you go like he's 4.5 inches with a 7-degree yaw to the left, and then he would have the
protractor comes out.
Yeah, I mean
Donald Trump to the stand for the protractor.
How else do you prove it?
Tape measure, protractor. Oh my gosh. Or you know, there was a speck or a mole over here. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean that would be damning evidence. If I don't know that anybody wants to go there.
I think Stormy went there once.
I don't know. Did she though? She could be making it all up. Okay. Wow. So that's a little bit there. Apparently, Eric Adams suggests that Rikers is staffed by professionals and ready for Donald Trump to be in jail. Rikers, worth noting that. I gotta fix a typo there. But Taylor Swift's stalker was there in 2024, and worth noting that Epstein did not die at Rikers. It was a different facility in New York. Did y'all hear the story about the Trump media auditor?
No, I didn't.
This was an interesting one. So the Trump Media Group, so GJT, they hired an auditor like 37 days ago. So this auditor didn't actually get to do any kind of work yet for Trump. But apparently the auditor was accused by the SEC of just being a sham audit mill where they would basically do audits without actually doing anything other than changing dates. And so they weren't actually verifying documentation. This is all alleged by the SEC, so who knows? I'm sure BF Borgers will be like, oh, that's a lie. But the owner of the company did agree to pay $2 million personally, $12 million on the company's behalf, both permanently suspended from doing any kind of SEC-related audits. This is the auditor Trump Media Group hired. And the allegations from the SEC included deliberate and systemic failures, failure to abide by accounting rules, fabricating documentation, and falsely stating audits met audit standards. And basically, SEC is saying, you know, here's a company. I was reading another story about this where somehow, with the little staff they had, they were able to churn out 4 to 5 times as many audits per person they had compared to other competing audit companies. Makes sense if all you're doing is changing the dates.
And this is the auditor that DJT hired.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it is worth noting that now that auditor is fired. I mean, no surprise. They can't legally audit anymore. But today, DJT did say they have officially fired this auditor. And the stock's probably up on that. I don't know.
Probably.
DJT moves in mysterious ways. Yeah, it's at $47 right now. And what's fascinating about this is if I zoom in to, I think it was the 5-minute here, look at that. That's not as good of a bounce, but I have a support. It's a diagonal support here for DJT. Once it broke $36, this sucker took off. It was wild. So anyway, all right, we can pull off the chart here. Let's see what else we got. So I don't know. Any thoughts? Any leftover thoughts there on Donald Trump, or did we kind of hit Donald Trump there?
That's pretty good for Donald Trump.
Did we?
For Donald, you know, Rivian's a little green in the after hours now.
Is it?
Is it
Rivian,
really?
They lost 38,000 per vehicle compared to the 43,000. So Rivian's getting closer to a profit per vehicle. Closer.
A break even per vehicle. Upstart is open. We can show this on screen if you like. Upstart did end up opening down about 10%. It just opened. I'm on the 1 minute candle. I'm getting my first candle here. So it just opened down about bobbing around on 10% over here. And then 12% now. So a lot of pain there on Upstart on missing that Q2 guidance. Palantir, it's finally softening its bleed there. I'm betting on a bounce tomorrow. I'm going to get burned a little on Theta Decay. I went with a small little bet over here. Did have a profitable trading day today, though. We were up, I think it was like 5 or 6K, somewhere in that range, at least $5,000. That was a quick little morning trade. Maybe I'll give that all back tomorrow morning on this Palantir trade. But I'm only 7K deep on the Palantir trade, so I'd really have to get hosed on it tomorrow morning. But I actually think there's a good chance Palantir will bounce tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. The only thing that's not bouncing right now is Upstart. That sucker is down now 15%.
Did we figure out why they were halted?
I think they just expected bad earnings. I didn't see any kind of news yet, but I'll look in a moment.
I mean, like, why would you halt a company for bad earnings only? Like, I've never seen that before.
I haven't seen that either. So I thought there might be some form of acquisition news or something, but I haven't seen it yet.
Or I wonder if they're just late with their filings.
I mean, they reported here on time. So let's pull off my screen there for a moment. I'll look. Let me see if I can find anything in the bag. Trading resumes. Upstart fiscal year revenue forecast reported in error. The fiscal year revenue is down. Oh my gosh, it missed by about half. Well, there you go. It's a horrible guide.
Ouch.
Horrible guide at Upstart, which makes sense. I mean, rates are so freaking high. But $300 million fiscal year revenue, the estimate, 580. That is almost a 50% miss on fiscal year revenue. There you go. That's why they halted, because it was so egregiously
Have you ever
bad.
seen that before?
I don't, not for earnings. I haven't seen that before. That's a little weird.
So going back to Rivian a little bit, Rivian apparently to whole Mars only has about 4 quarters of cash left, so they'll have to raise this year.
It's less than that. It's like 3/4.
You think?
It's way less than that. Yeah, they're burning like. I mean, I'll have to look at their latest 10Q, but I'm pretty sure they're burning like 1.5 to 2 billion a quarter, and if they've got 6 left, they're at 3/4. So and you have to raise before that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't raise when you've run out of money, because now you're bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Or at the very least insolvent.
How many quarters does Tesla have of cash? Do you know?
Well,
your head?
it depends. It depends what your burn is. You know, if you burn like you did in Q1, you're in the same boat.
Yeah, that's
you're,
what I was going to say.
You're 3/4 away if you burn as badly as Q1. Now the saying in the earnings call was that Tesla, just had a mismatch between production and deliveries for Q1, and that's why the negative cash flow was so bad, is they spent money producing but didn't make that money. But if Q2 deliveries miss, and then you still have more production than you have deliveries, you're gonna have the same problem.
You want to hear a crazy stat? Rivian said that in its first quarter of 2024, they hosted 28,000 demo drives, which is a 91% increase from the fourth quarter. Is that the Tesla effect? Is that the Elon gone crazy on Twitter? People don't want a Tesla anymore. Ross Gerber's buying a Rivian instead of a Model X effect? Is that brand damage? Have Rivian have so many more demo drives, a 91% increase.
From what is it, year over year?
Quarter over quarter.
You sure?
From Q4 of 2023 to Q1, Rivian said that it has a 91% increase in demo
That's
drives.
interesting. I mean, it depends what their priority is. I think there could be some skew there, because a lot of Rivians, when they first started releasing these, all they had to do was send an email to their customers, go, your Rivian's ready. You didn't have to do a demo. You just sold the car to people. I think what might be happening is they're through the order book. So they've gone through the available buyers, and now they're actually having to sell the cars. So the first batch didn't need selling. So there's probably some skew there. I can't say that's a Tesla effect. Are consumers maybe a little bit happier that the economy is not plunging into a recession, at least at this point? Yeah, that probably helps. But I think they're running out of buyers. I think the same thing, honestly, is probably going to happen with the Cybertruck, if it hasn't happened yet. When they started expanding to, if you're a Tesla shareholder, we'll let you get early access to a Cybertruck. It was a sign to me that they were probably getting 90 no's for every 10 yeses on people who put a Cybertruck reservation in, but now don't want it. Mm-hmm. So everybody wants a Cybertruck when it's supposed to be, what was it, $49,000 in 2019 or 2020 or whenever they released it or announced it. Everybody wants a Cybertruck at that point. $100, great time. Now, tough times.
Yeah.
90% in test drives up, that's good. But if it doesn't translate to like 90% up in sales, then I think people are not liking the test drives.
Well, I don't think you'd ever convert test drives to sales 1-to-1. I think you'd probably have like a 1 to maybe 10, like max a 10% conversion on test drives would be insane.
What were the sales numbers? How much did that increase quarter over quarter?
Ooh, that's a good question. They did end up getting they did beat on sales. So they went to deliveries of 13,588 versus the 12,475. So let me look at Rivian Q4 deliveries, and then we can compare that number. So they deliver, that's down 13,900. But then again, end of the year, you take your tax credit maybe, if they're still eligible for the tax credit. I'm not sure that any Rivians are.
I'm not sure.
We'll have to look at that too. But they basically shrunk. So if I look at 13,972 divided by what we had now, or 13,588 divided by 13,972, we shrunk by about 2.8%. And as far as the EV tax credit eligible vehicles, let's see, there should be a. Let's see. Here's a Consumer Reports one. I know Consumer Reports doesn't like Tesla.
I'm looking at
but
the same one. They
see.
get a partial. They get the half
the 3,750.
for MSRP of 80K or below. So I don't know if some of the trims are more than that, but
Yeah. Okay. The RS1 and R1T.
R1S and R1T, yeah.
Yeah, 3,750. So they get the partial. So the Tesla really wins on a lot of their cars having the full.
Yeah, maybe their test drives. I mean, hopefully. I mean, we saw you said quarter over quarter they were down in sales, right?
Yeah.
Down in deliveries.
But then again, Q1's usually a crap quarter, so you got to give them some credit there. I always worry about the cash burn, but we'll come back to that.
yeah.
The Model 3 no longer qualifies for the tax write-off.
One of the models,
The
just
performance
came
one
back.
does.
Okay.
But
that's
the other
what it
ones use the LFP battery, which is a Chinese battery, so it doesn't qualify.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. So next thing, what did y'all think of the Apple event today?
I didn't watch it, but the iPad seems really cool.
Yeah, they added 0.1 inch to the iPad diagonally.
All of these are just like, with the exception of the Vision Pro, I do think Steve Jobs would be rather disappointed in the lack of innovation.
It feels very incremental, huh? Yeah, literally like 1/10 of 1 inch.
It's just kind of like, I think Ross said it best. He fell asleep during the Apple presentation today.
Oh, did he say
Ross,
that?
yeah, he tweeted that he fell asleep.
Some folks there seem to be upset by Ross. What's going on? I still like Ross. I think he's a great guy, but I know some people have different opinions on that. Maybe some people can leave some comments there in the comments, and we can sort of survey what people think.
I have a question for you. So, what do you think about with the economy going back and forth between recession, not recession, soft recession, whatever you want to call it? Why does Warren Buffett have so much cash still?
Well,
He's at a record high. I have all of his numbers up right here. He's at a record high of cash at $189 billion. What's his plan?
Well, I think the plan is wait for the deal to come to you. So I think he's very much I'm not going to get rich trying to pick a stock. I'm going to get rich buying a really good business at a discount. So, he just needs to wait. Like let's say you go into a recession tomorrow, just to be extreme. You go into a recession tomorrow and Rivian's, just to be extreme, Rivian's out of cash. And, all of a sudden, as opposed to selling for what's their valuation right now, as opposed to selling for a $10 billion company, he could pick it up for 500 mil. Let's just theoretically say, right? I mean, those are the sort of opportunities that he saves cash for. And how many $500 million companies can he buy with, what'd you say, 180?
$189 billion.
He could buy 360 $500 million companies in the next crash at basically a huge discount. That's buying a company every single day.
And you think he's just happy, take his 5% and just keep on waiting?
Yeah,
Wait.
absolutely. Like it's one of the reasons I'm higher on cash too, is just like, are the opportunities that great right now? I'd rather have some opportunities to buy some dips. I still think the Palantir one's a little desirable. I think they're one of the best actual AI plays. But I think everything will take a lot longer than people suspect in terms of how long you actually start seeing revenues, how long it takes to get revenues to pull through.
Got it.
We'll see.
Okay.
But
Your answer to the Ross question, it seems to be politics.
Oh, really?
Pretty much
Okay.
everyone is quoting wokeness or just politics in general.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I really try my best to be neutral, but it's funny, you know, like I'll say like, all right, my goal is to be as neutral as possible, and then I'll get people like, no man, you're a flaming liberal, and then the next comment be like, you're such a right winger, you're so far right, and it's like, okay, it sounds like that about averages out
Yeah,
to neutral.
you're fine. You're fine.
So it's pretty remarkable. I personally thought the Apple event was slightly unremarkable. I went into it thinking, oh, maybe I'll be convinced to buy a new iPad. I wanted a larger one. Like I wanted at least 1 or 2 more inches. Just give me at least 1 or 2 more inches, man.
Would you be on board if Apple got into the foldable business?
No.
A foldable iPhone, a foldable iPad.
I don't know. I've gone into the Samsung stores, or even the Microsoft stores where they have them, both of them. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the division line.
The crease.
The crease. That's what it is. When you unfold it, at the crease, I feel like I'd constantly be doing this with my thumb.
It's gotten a little better.
Has it really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I forgot the name of all these phones, but when it first came out, it was a very obvious crease, and now it's, I mean,
Less.
Pete has one. I was just looking at it like yesterday,
Okay.
the other day, and they've significantly improved it.
Okay,
It's still
maybe-
noticeable, but it's
Maybe I need to go back to another store and give them a try.
give it a shot. It's going in the right direction.
Yeah, because it would be nice not to, like if I travel somewhere, I'll often take my backpack and I'll take the iPad Mini and my iPhone because I don't want to read on my iPhone. It's way too small. But on the iPad Mini, it's a good balance and it's light enough to carry around. If I take a full iPad with the keyboard, that sucker's like 2.5 pounds. Way too much.
Might as well bring your laptop.
Exactly. At that point, I mean, you're getting to laptop stage. So I'd rather take the Mini, which is, I think, less than a pound. And but if I could consolidate that into a folded phone that unfolded to the size of a Mini, I could see that being desirable. But
I've seen some
see it.
rumors saying like the next step in Apple's innovation is to
Copy Android
is
again.
to, yeah,
Samsung, yeah.
is to get into the foldable business. I've also heard rumors that like the Vision Pro has been extremely underwhelming in terms of sales, and that they might not even do a Model Model 2 version of it. I don't know. It just feels like Apple's one of the biggest companies in the world, and the lack of innovation we're seeing is slightly disappointing.
guess we'll see. WWDC will get the AI announcements, and we'll see what these new AI chips are going to be able to bring.
I just want a calculator for the iPad.
Coming next
man.
month.
I
Just a
want I just want a
calculator.
calculator for the iPad.
Do you have a calculator on your Android apps? Like, is there a calculator app?
Default, like, is there a standard one? Yeah.
Standard. Okay, yeah, that's not on the iPad.
Why?
Yeah,
There's no calculator app.
But there is on the iPhone, right?
Yeah, but not the iPad.
That's weird.
No calculator. Too hard.
It's-
Don't solve it.
extremely bizarre.
Yeah.
Like
Quite
before
inconvenient.
there was an app store, there was a calculator on the iPhone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the iPhone 1, so it's still that moment of like, app store? Like when
Yeah.
they first announced it, I'm like, what? It's crazy, and now it's so ubiquitous. You know, everything has an app store.
The commercials, there's an app for that, right?
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that? There's an app for that.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so then the next thing we've got is we've got to touch on SoftBank over here. So SoftBank just made a fat investment following up on Microsoft and NVIDIA's investments into this company called Wave. Now, Microsoft has been investing in this company since 2017, back when they did their $200 million raise. Now they've got this company that's doing vision-based, end-to-end neural net AI self-driving vehicles. Now we'll go ahead and pull this up on screen when it loads there. There we go. This is the Wave company. It is a competitor to Tesla. Now, a lot of people are going to get angry at me for saying
Uh-oh,
that.
careful.
Oh, I'm going to trigger people here. But let's be real. It is probably the first vision-based competitor I've seen. You have the Mobileye, which uses a lot of LiDAR. Be aware, it is purposely driving on the left side of the road. I understand that is very weird for a lot of people, as it is for me. I mean, who would do that sort of thing? But anyway, apparently that's normal in parts of the world. And what's interesting about this, and we don't know if this was actually real-time generated or they added this after the fact, but this vision-based AI for their self-driving, a neural net, actually provides you a transcription of what it's doing and thinking. So it uses basically a language neural net, much like a GPT or whatever, to explain why it's making a certain decision, keeping pace with the lead vehicle, reducing speed, whatever. I don't know, this is moving too quickly here. Turning right to follow the route, keeping same speed as road, changing lanes to follow the route, slowing down due to the lead vehicle, slowing down behind lead vehicle, changing lanes to follow route, whatever. I don't actually know how practical and useful that is, because the whole point is not to have to go into these neural nets and start programming in changes. So I worry that the reason they're using this sort of chat feature is to go in and make little modifications, which I think is less scalable than what Tesla's trying to do, which is get out of making modifications and just feed more video data to smooth out issues. So when people have issues, just give more data of how to fix it. Now, something else that's interesting, we'll jump out of this for a second here, Christian. Something else that's interesting about this wave here is they argue they were the first to pitch end-to-end AI. Here, let's throw this up on screen here. Look at this. Pioneering the end-to-end AI driving model. And they've been using this pitching for about 6 months now. Tesla really only started in about the last 45 days talking about this end-to-end neural net push. That's not saying Tesla wasn't working on it. It's not saying Tesla's not better. But look at this. They also pitched the idea of drive-by-wire, which is what we're testing with the Cybertruck at Tesla. And what I think is very unique about this platform is open. It's camera-first sensing, but they're open to other inputs, radar, LiDAR, whatever it may be. And this platform is designed to be integrated by other OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. So they can basically plug and play or white label the software into their own. This could be running in the background, and then you basically have Wave inside, as opposed to, let's say, Tesla inside, or like a proprietary Ford software inside. Ford could brand it as their own and potentially upsell other features like, want the camera only? It's this price. Want radar as well because it makes you feel more comfortable? Want LiDAR as well because it makes you feel more comfortable? Hey, this neural net will work with those other features, and then you can upsell those products. So I know, a lot of people like Ron Barron see that Tesla inside will be the future. But there's a real possibility that these other companies like a Wave, in partnership with an NVIDIA and a Microsoft, who are now potentially incentivized to give Wave more compute preference and power or subsidize. Here, have some of the latest and greatest chips. Get the first order of the Blackwell NVIDIA chips or whatever. Catch up and beat Tesla. NVIDIA and Microsoft, they're betting on a Wave, not on a Tesla.
Yeah.
So, this is the big question. Is Wave a risk to Tesla? Now, I want to hear what you guys think, but the first response people are going to say is, not a chance. Tesla has billions of miles driven. How many miles driven does Wave have? How many integrations does Wave have? That's probably the best defense for Tesla, is the miles driven that they have. But what happens when you start integrating this as a white label AI software into every Ford, every new Volkswagen, whatever? You're gonna hit millions of miles of vehicles on millions of miles driven on the road much faster than Tesla can, because you'll have so many more million vehicles actually driving. So how much of a risk is a company like this to Tesla? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think right now Tesla's bottleneck is in compute, so it would make sense like if NVIDIA is giving more compute preference to another company. That's
an assumption.
That would be an assumption, but that would make sense. But for a new company, their bottleneck would actually be the data, the thing that Tesla has. Yeah. So then the question becomes like, which is easier to obtain within the coming years? Like, I don't think data becomes any easier to obtain because you still need to have cars on the road. It's just a matter of hours, whereas compute is something that scales up over time. Like the efficiency you get per dollar, or the compute that you get per dollar, scales up over time, right? So in other words, 2 years from now, I anticipate like it would be cheaper to buy the amount of compute that Tesla needs right now that they're bottlenecked on. Whereas something like the amount of miles driven, like you said, sure, every car might have it on the road, but even then, that's starting gathering data.
Yep.
It might not be ready to actually use. It might just be there observing and gathering data in the meantime, which would not make it there's not much value in that if you're a first time customer for that. So I don't know. I don't anticipate it's possible.
That's
but
a good point, because even if it's running in the background, who cares? It's not really functional for people.
It's not a selling point for me to get that Volkswagen if I'm someone who cares about automated driving.
I wonder how much data can be collected already, and then with the next generation GPUs that come out, how quickly can somebody catch up to Tesla? I don't think anybody has the data that Tesla has, but
All right, so I'm trying to think of a technological precedent that's been set previously, and I went to mobile sales, like mobile phone sales, and I'm sure you could do the same with browser history. But at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the decade, maybe a little bit more than that, BlackBerry was number one, right? BlackBerry was the hottest thing on the market.
Lauren
was a
had one.
smartphone.
I had a converter.
I remember my dad had a BlackBerry. Loved it. It was the coolest thing. BlackBerry failed to innovate, and they were quickly passed up by other companies. And rather than just have one phone company, the market share of phone is pretty evenly split. Apple 28%, Samsung 23%. I think you pronounce it Xiaomi is 11%. So the thing is, you don't have just one winner. Why do we have to test with full self-driving? The point I'm trying to make is you have to have just one.
That's true.
You can have leaders, but you can also have people that fall behind in technological
Kathy
advancements.
Wood said this is going to be winner take most. So what you're saying is you disagree with Kathy, and you think there can be many winners.
I would love to hear her precedent and how this is an exception to the rule.
Ooh, precedent. He's been studying judicial things here.
These are big words, McKay.
Gosh.
Most technologies, it's not winner takes all or winner takes most. It's usually like, find me a precedent where it's like, okay, well, you have Sony, you have Canon. There's usually competitors, and that's what makes this marketplace great, is the competition. So historically, there should be some sort of competitor to Tesla. Whether Tesla falls behind or another company catches up, there will be another competitor.
That's a good point. I mean, you look at chips, you've got plenty of competitors. You've got Fritos, Doritos.
Could it be Waymo? I don't know. I just don't know if there's. I don't think we need to look at it with the lens of, oh, it's Tesla or nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, who's the competitors? And what is Tesla doing to have that slight market lead? Because most people don't know Apple's 28% of the marketplace, and Samsung's 23%. The gap's not that wide. Outside of the United States, more people have non-iPhones than people have iPhones inside the United States. It's a small market.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And so then Tesla can really monetize for as long as they can. And then, of course, the goal becomes, can you actually turn this into a recurring revenue model? Hence the $99
recurring revenue. No, I don't know if that would solve it. I think it's more like iPhone sales. You have to create another S curve. iPhone sales start plateauing. Okay, we need the iPad.
Yeah.
Okay, now we need the Vision Pro. You just try S curves until you plateau.
Google folks are saying, that's actually a good point in the comments here. Google is the best example. No competitor to Google. That I'll say is fair. I mean, you do have Bing.
What about
and
Safari?
stuff. No, I mean, that's a browser.
Okay, I guess, yeah, I see.
The search engine itself, it's like, are you going to go to Bing.com or AskJeeves.com or Yahoo? Or are you going to go to Google? That's a good comparison. I mean, they probably have that 90+% market share. But
let's pull it up. I'm going to pull up the browser market share right now. Let's see.
Yeah.
So Chrome is 65%. Safari is 18%.
Not browser. Search engine. Search engine. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But what's important there is you look at there are still competitors. And I think what the argument you're making there is, McKay, is you ultimately, in the longer term future, I don't know that you're going to pick a car because it has FSD. Like today, you might pick a Tesla because it has FSD. But are you going to pick a Tesla if every car in the future has its own version of full self-driving? And that's the comparison or the competition where it's like, today, I will only drive a Tesla because I suck at driving. In 10 years, if Mercedes Sprinter has, and Tesla doesn't have a Sprinter van competitor yet, and Mercedes Sprinter has a full self-driving Sprinter van, I'd buy that in a heartbeat. I'd love to take all my 7 children and shove them into a Sprinter van and have it drive itself. Now, if I want to put them all in a car, I have to buy a Sprinter van and I have to ask Lauren to drive because I'm certainly not going to do it.
So this is a great counterpoint to my market share takes all argument. So like this would be a point Kathy Wood. I'll go ahead and share this. According to StatCounter.com, which is what I've been referencing for my stats.
It's a scam.
Google,
Everything's a scam.
I don't know if you can see this. Google has 86, pretty much 87% of search engine market share. Bing 5.8, and then you can see the rest. So point Kathy Wood. You can't have a winner takes most.
Yeah.
Yandex is going to be like all of Russia. Baidu is China.
But again, this is based on you getting everybody to say, oh, just Google it. Like it became ubiquitous. Will it be, just Tesla FSD? No, because the choice isn't FSD. The choice is the car. All right, let's get to the next topic. That's very interesting. I do want to catch up. I want to shout out Troy here. Troy Teslike says that Tesla is still probably facing a challenging Q2 here. Feel free to share this up on screen if you'd like. Tesla deliveries not going well this year. Q1 saw an 8.5% decline. Q2 is expected to be worse. Q3 unclear, and Q4 a likely negative growth. Looking at maybe let's see here, a negative Q2 as well as a negative full year from Troy's estimate. A lot of folks are actually getting mad at Troy. They're like, why are you so bearish? You know, people get mad at me too. They're like, oh, Kevin's being Tesla. I got Tesla exposure here. As large as I was previously. No, and I don't think it's wise to be, not personalized advice, but I mean, I think Troy has really good data and research, but it is something where we are seeing this almost AMC or GME like a violence. And I'm not saying that you can't be really pro AMC or GME, but you go short those, it's like this army comes after you. Or like Hex. Who remembers that interview I did with that Hex coin god?
I remember exactly where I was when we were doing that interview.
Really?
Yeah, I was driving in the rain to what's the soup place called?
Soup Plantation?
No,
Panera. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's I don't know why you remember that. But anyway, I was doing that interview and there were so many red flags. And the amount of like Hex support, I don't know if they're just all bots or where they all come from. It's crazy. Like if you read the comments, it's like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing in the world. And then, of course, you know, what happens to Hex happens to Hex, but it's crazy. The goal is as best as possible to look at data without bias. Everybody's going to have bias. If anything, I'd say I want to be as pro-Tesla as possible. But there are definitely some things that make me go, this is interesting. This is where Microsoft and NVIDIA are putting their money. And as much as I think it's probably nonsense that they don't have the data, I'm certainly going to be paying a lot more attention to Wave after this last $1 billion fundraise round. It's been nice to have some cool screens on your website and raise $1 billion. Okay, that does substantially undersell what they are doing. I'm sure they're doing other things. Like our government wanting to sue or ban TikTok, and now TikTok suing to block that. What do y'all think about that? Is you gonna uninstall TikTok if Biden tells you can't use TikTok no more, or are you going VPN?
So I rarely use TikTok, right? That's more of a Franny thing, and she'll just send me memes.
Yeah.
But I opened up TikTok last week, and there's a notification that like, help us fight Congress. Like they're trying to take this away from you. So they're like going over to TikTok users and like, please write to your representative, like call, save TikTok. But I mean, I don't know, like, did you think it was ridiculous that the government asked them to switch over to like an American company or be banned? Like, did you think that was a ridiculous ask?
I mean, again, what they're trying to do, they're trying to move Americans' viewing data to America, which that was always supposed to be the plan. That's why TikTok, ByteDance, uses Oracle to store data in the US. The problem is they got exposed for having a duplicate of all the data in China on Chinese servers. I actually think there's also a chance that, I'm not trying to be bearish here. I'm just saying there is a chance. There's a non-zero chance Tesla's data gets stolen and somebody trains an FSD off of Tesla's data. Imagine if you could how valuable that would be. You steal all of Tesla's data set like this, train it on, maybe 5 generation down from now GPU. Boom, you can train an FSD 12 in a weekend, whereas it took, Tesla years. So it's an interesting thesis. But so I see the idea of preserving the data, the values in the data, especially since TikTok can use your forward-facing camera on your phone to track your reactions, to see what you're responding positively to, and to show you more.
I don't like that.
Yeah, so like when there's like a hot blonde, I don't know why they keep getting fed to me, and you get like googly eyes or whatever. They see all that. They collect all that data.
It's weird that you get those because they don't send those to me, but you seem to get a lot of.
I know every time I open up your TikTok, it's just dudes.
I saw that coming.
So I don't understand why they would push so hard for this in an election, because this seems like a fairly unpopular thing to do in America. Like, this seems more pro like Republican, like get rid of like the Chinese censorship. Like, it seems way more right wing, but you have Joe Biden pushing for it. Wouldn't most young voters be extremely anti that?
Well, I don't think people want to lose TikTok because they're entertained by it, but I think that, and it comes across as sort of like it's the anti-free speech POV, but really Democrats and Republicans are sort of united in the anti-China. I think that's where it's coming from. I remember Trump with the trade wars with China. Gosh, it was like every week it was stock markets going down, trade war drama. It's crazy. So both are really doing that. I think what you actually want would be somewhat relaxed tensions with China. I mean, you don't want Taiwan to get invaded. And China's actually been decent in trying to be neutral with what's going on with like Russia, Ukraine, for example, like cooling Putin off a little bit. Kind of important, especially since, I mean, in this morning's Meet Kevin report, we talked about Putin talking about practicing using strategic nukes. All because of Emmanuel Macron in Paris going, yeah, we should have nukes as part of our defense option in Europe. Of course, you're just going to piss off Putin, which is not saying you shouldn't be mentioning it, but boy, I mean, just the escalations around the world is just scary. I don't want to talk nukes. That's scary. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But as far as what actually ends up happening with TikTok, the reality is I don't think anybody's going to lose TikTok on their phone. I think the ultimate long-term reality is you're just going to end up getting some U.S. shell company that, yes, now a U.S. company with...
Whoa, this is breaking news. Donald Trump's criminal trial for allegedly mishandling classified documents has been postponed indefinitely.
There you go. Probably because you got the same sort of... well, there was the talk about... I think it was... I think the State Department sent Trump pallets of boxes with documents, and then they basically raided Mar-a-Lago before he was able to go through all of them, and they're like, aha, classified documents. They're like, but you sent those to... There's some weird shenanigan stuff going on there. To me, I think this just proves why no paper. It's one of the things we do in the office here. Get rid of paper.
Oh my God.
Shred it.
If you leave paper on your desk, Kevin will walk up and just throw it away when you're not there. It's the most annoying thing. Yeah, everything on computers.
No paper.
No paper.
Scan it. What was the line in the military? I think read and destroy. I think that's the
Scan
line.
and destroy.
Read the paper and destroy it. Anyway, so, all right, what else we got? We got, did you hear about the Civil War talk?
I heard you talk about it a little bit.
This is crazy. Apparently, Rasmussen reports say that 10 times fast. That's actually probably not too much of a tongue twister, but anyway, it's a polling company. They said Hillary was going to win. Anyway, so Rasmussen says that 41% of likely U.S. voters think that we are going to experience a second civil war in the next 5 years. Of those, 16% view it as very likely. Those are your preppers.
That's true.
37% believe war is more likely under Biden. 25% believe war is more likely under Trump, civil war. 30% say it doesn't matter who's president, we're going to civil war. Is it that bad?
It depends what you classify as civil war, because if you're talking like violent protests, then sure, that's highly guaranteed.
No, civil war is like people killing each other.
I think civil war, like bayonets, like...
Yes.
Well, it won't
like
be
real
bayonets,
civil
but
war.
it'll be like it'll be PvP.
Yeah, but I mean, personally, I wouldn't be in the camp of that. I don't think that that's likely.
How many guns do you have? I wouldn't be participating 5 years from now, McKay. I'm ready, boys.
I don't think it's likely.
I don't think it's likely at
No,
all.
I don't think it's likely, but better be prepared and have and not need than need and not have, boys.
I
Yeah,
think anyone
that
who
was-
thinks there will be a civil war, or especially the people who are hoping for a civil war, these are people who don't understand war. They don't understand what the casualties of war are actually like. They don't
Yeah.
know what it's actually like to be there, the loss of life, like bodies on the streets.
The terror.
Yes, those are the
That's a good
only
point.
people who are thinking like, yeah, there's going to be a civil war and we're going to win it. Like it's not something you should be hoping for or expecting.
I would say the likelihood of a terrorist attack from sleeper agents within the United States is much more likely than a civil war.
Interesting.
I would put a much higher likelihood on that.
That sounds scary.
It sounds terrifying.
And a lot of people relate that to immigration.
Yes.
Which what's interesting is this morning I was covering immigration and a little bit, and boy, I was like, basically there was this viral tweet circulating about it was a sort of a city street with maybe 100 Muslim individuals, and they were doing some kind of chant to a song or whatever, and people were like, "This is the United Kingdom," and it was really like a form of like race baiting, where it's sort of like, "Oh, you would expect the United Kingdom would be white, and it's not." And so I was looking, and this particular district has been Muslim for like more than 20 plus years. But the amount of people, and this was interesting, this did surprise me. So I always like to react to where maybe I'm wrong. The amount of people who left comments that were saying, Kevin, no, like back in the 50s, some of these areas were like 90% white, and now they're like 90% Muslim. That's the comparison. It's not the last 20 years thing, it's the last 70 years. And that there's a lot of tension and anti-immigration tension around that. That surprised me. And so I don't know if that's the same cohort of civil war, but maybe could it be that immigration leads to civil war versus, I mean, what else? I mean, I don't think that.
I'm reading the comments. I'm seeing conservative versus liberal. I'm seeing rich versus poor. I'm seeing California versus Texas, red versus blue. So it's, I guess, political mostly, but also it kind of sounds like it might be a free-for-all civil war, just everyone for themselves.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
The immigration thing is interesting in the fact that if you do have a group of migrants like try to overtake a smaller city, the capital of a smaller city or something like that, where maybe it's like a South Texas city or something along those lines, that I could see more likely. But I wouldn't even call that a civil war, because civil would be citizens versus citizens, I would think, not illegal immigrants versus citizens. I think
that's just a regular war. He's
That's
right.
just war.
That's just war.
That's just, we got invaded, bro, and we let them invade us.
Oh. Ay.
I mean, like the Moscow might see their invasion on Ukraine as a civil war, but objectively, I wouldn't agree with that. And Ukraine probably doesn't see it that way.
Yeah, perspective. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. All right. So anyway, a lot of tense emotions. I went to the dentist, and they're like, "Kevin, the world's going to shit," and I'm like, "Dang, it's gotten to the dentist office."
Yeah, that's like when your Uber drivers are trading Bitcoin and they sell right at the top, and they sell the top and they buy at the bottom.
Yeah, you know it's bad when you go in for a cleaning and you're hearing about the ailments of the world.
Yeah.
So I love my dentist, but yeah, well, that was surprising.
All right. Yeah, I have something I want to get your thoughts on.
Oh no.
Okay, so today the Boy Scouts of America announced that they're going to change their name to Scouting of America.
Oh.
And so they have, over the last 5-10 years, they went bankrupt in 2020 after settling $150 million of sexual abuse lawsuits. And then in 2000, they will have now $2.4 billion that they have to pay out to 82,000 survivors. And this comes all after
Survivors. Did people die
Of sexual
did you
abuse.
say- Oh. Do people say that, like survivors of sexual abuse?
That's what it said.
Oh,
I
that's
think
interesting.
so. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know
That's
if that's
Yeah.
the word. Yeah, I think so.
okay.
So
Victims, I feel like would be a better
You're right.
word.
You're
right.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's true. To put this in perspective, the Boy Scouts of America had 4 million boys participating in the 1970s. Today, they have 392,000.
Oh, yeah, well, there you
this
go.
has fallen off of a cliff.
Their
from,
growth numbers are negative.
Yeah, they're 2018. They had 843,000. That's when they announced that girls would be allowed to participate. And then it went.
I
down
don't. But they're Girl Scouts. I don't understand. So the
They're
Boy Scouts.
different.
It's different.
So I
Very
like.
different
I would think the
organizations.
same thing, but
I'm
like
an
the
Eagle
things you
Scout.
learn in Boy Scouts and the things you learn in Girl Scouts are night and day. Has nothing to do with one another. So if Girl Scouts,
I didn't know I had a choice. I thought I was born a boy. I Boy Scout.
This
and you're a
America.
girl. You sell cookies.
yeah.
And those are damn good cookies. I buy them every freaking year. And I eat them all.
Yeah, but they've like 3x in price, man. Like I don't even know if and there's less
The
cookies
people
in the
gift
box
them.
now.
Like I'm so grateful, but like what the nannies are like, they put them out and then they just open the end and pull it out a little bit, and then I'll grab 3, and then I'll sit down in my chair. I sit down in the studio. I'm like, now I'm gonna record. After I get 3 more cookies, just like I make this loop until the whole box is gone. They're so good. Anyways,
When I was in San Francisco, I saw Girl Scouts set up their sales like tables right outside of cannabis dispensaries.
and they didn't get mugged.
No, I guess I don't know. The criminals have a soft spot for the kids, but it was just diabolical to do that. So I went home with cannabis and Girl Scout cookies that day. They got me, but it was brilliant and kind of evil for them to do that. You walk out, you got the munchies.
I got
Yeah.
the munch. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But in 2018, they announced that girls will now be able to join the Boy Scouts program, which
okay.
it's kind of crazy that they're now just changing the name. I don't agree with it at all. I actually was a Boy Scout, and I graduated. I became an Eagle Scout, actually. In 2018, they had 840,000 active members, and just today they have 392,000.
Yeah.
So some may say, go woke, go broke.
Oh, yeah. It's honestly, I actually think it's kind of sad, and I wonder. I don't know. Like, would it have been the sexual abuse allegations that led to this decline, or did society become less interested in like outdoorsy stuff? Right?
I think it's that.
I think that's more likely than the sexual abuse stuff. I mean, like people still go to Catholic church, even though there are a lot of allegations. And I'm not like casting a suggestion that like there are sexual abuse at every church, but like you hear those allegations probably at a similar frequency as you hear those allegations about Boy Scouts. But that doesn't stop people from going to church. I don't think that's going to stop people from being a Boy Scout. But I think every kid's now got a phone. They don't want to be in a freaking tent. I remember when I had to sleep on the tent. You set up the tent, and you got to sleep on the floor, and the alligators are walking by. This was in Florida, Markham Park, and it's like you go lie down, and you got twigs in your butt. Through your not from the guys, not from the leaders of the Boy Scouts. Stop, McKay. I said no from the ground. It's like it's not comfortable. Okay, you can't go scroll on TikTok when you're a Boy Scout. So I think it's like a societal shift away from maybe, dare you say, physical activity into more of like computer world.
Yeah, just the outdoorsiness. Because back in the day too, I don't know, you would think like I need to learn how to tie a knot and pitch a fire and pitch a tent, like all this stuff, because you might end up in the woods one day.
Yeah.
Now it's like, well, I'll just Google how to do it when I need to learn how to do it. Like that's the mentality.
That is why I'm confident we will not have a civil war. Right there, I don't.
Oh, because nobody knows how to tie a knot?
No, nobody knows how to like do outdoors things.
You
like,
don't need to. You just need a gun. That's the reality now.
Oh, you're a camper.
You're not a Boy
staying
Scout,
at
you're a
home. You're
camper.
roof camping.
You base camp. Bro.
You don't need to know how to build a fire. You just need to know how to take somebody else's fire.
Someone's saying you can camp with Apple VR. I mean, that's really the mentality I think in most people is if I want to camp, I'll throw in the VR headset.
Or in a Tesla.
Or if I do go camping, then I'm still going to put on the VR headset and pretend I'm at home. Like I don't know. I love camping, but I don't think it's as popular as it used to be.
Some of my favorite memories were like as a Boy Scout, like doing like the outdoors camping, like build your own shelter, make a fire competition. Like those are some of my favorite memories. So it's just a kind of a bummer that it's not popular anymore.
Dude, somebody in the comments said, you become a Boy Scout to learn how to pitch a tent.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, what's next? What do you got, Mikey?
Change the topic.
I'm draft topics, but I want to check the after hours real quick. Kevin?
Stop.
Kevin?
Can you censor? Can you turn off Kevin's
Please.
mic?
There we go.
Okay. Okay. How about this? We've got. I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on the Naomi thing with the dog. Did you hear the dog thing? The dog drama? Okay, here we could throw. Feel free to throw this up on screen here. So this is Trump VP contenders. One of them, Christy Christine Naom, whatever. Anyway, she's the Republican governor of South Dakota, served since 2019, first female governor of South Dakota, Norwegian ancestry. Father was killed in a farm machinery accident in 94 when she was about 23.
Brutal.
Yeah, that's terrible. Machinery accidents, those are violent. Like a Reaper or something like that. Sucks. Yeah, it's terrible. Worked in South Dakota, House of Reps, then U.S. Reps. After 4 terms, became governor. So she's been in politics for a while.
She's done her time.
Yeah. Co-sponsored a bill to ban abortion at the time of fertilization. She's got her clear positions. That's fine. So in her new book, apparently, which is No Going Back, she talks about how she killed a family pet, a dog, because it was deemed untrainable and would bite people. Those are the quotes: untrainable and would bite people. And so the choice she made was, rather than give it up for adoption or train it better, she went with option C, kill. And so she's gotten massive backlash on this. And I have to say, my father has a golden doodle, and the attachment that he has to the golden doodle, and just the attachment I have like vicariously through him when he brings the golden doodle over. Well, first of all, it's very physical because the thing just drumps right above me. But I love the dog. Like there's a real connection there, almost like a child. And I clearly see that between my father. I mean, I feel like he's married to the dog. His name is Zeus, which is spelled like Zeus, Zeus the god, but is pronounced like cute in German.
German, yeah.
So really cool. Really see the connection there. So to me, if you get a family pet and you go for option C, kill, that seems pretty harsh. And then, this was the hard thing. She posted this. Rather than say, I effed up, I was a dumb, minus 20, whatever her age is now, a year old. Her response was, I can understand why some people are upset. In my years of public service, I've had to make difficult decisions. And that, even though it was hard and painful, was the decision I made. And that was what I thought was the right way. And so she doubles down on this idea of killing the dog. What are your reactions to some of this? McKay, you used to, raise dogs. Mikey, I don't know if you've ever had a dog. You had a dog?
Quite a few.
All right, yeah.
It just seems like there's a lot of the story missing. Like, in the heat of the moment on a farm, like is what I have in my picture. A dog bit somebody, maybe even a child. You put the dog.
You just shoot it?
No, I wouldn't say you shoot it, but you have to either put it up for adoption. But on farms, I mean, I don't know what year this was in. There's a lot of details missing, so it'd be weird to make it. In
fairness, she look at this novel. Like, she wrote more of a novel than is probably content in her actual book in this Twitter post here. Nowhere here it's just this is what it is. Cricket had shown aggressive behavior toward people by biting them. I decided what I did. This wasn't, and she compares her dog to livestock that needs to be put down. So it's like, your dog has turned into cattle. Oh, it's as worthless as a chicken to her, basically. And a lot of people like chickens, but I mean, they're a source of food. Dogs aren't, right? She's treating it the same as the meat we put on our plate, almost disposable. And I think that's where people got a little upset.
Some more context too. So the dog was just over a year old. So
it's a puppy.
It's a puppy.
And she shot
they
and
need
killed
training.
it. She shot it. It's tricky because I've spent a good portion of my life as a kid on a farm, and we see, like in Bulgaria, at least at the time, we see dogs very differently than we do today, or like than we do in the United States. The reason I've had dogs in the US is because we get to have a dog, a family pet. The reason I have a dog in Bulgaria is to guard the chickens from foxes and ferrets, right? To guard the goats, to guard the livestock. So you use it just like dogs used to be used back in the day. They're basically a worker. They're kind of a tool. So if they're attacking the livestock, basically like not doing their job, you could give it away to someone else, but they're just going to have the exact same problem of eating their livestock and then they kill it. So I can understand that perspective. With that said, it's kind of a puppy. It's your responsibility to train it. You shouldn't have doubled down on it. And I mean, it's sad. Like, I mean, you know, I try to stay away from eating any kind of meat. I'll eat fish, but I haven't eaten like other meat in 9 years. And it's kind of for the same reason. It's if we don't have to do it, then don't do it. With dogs, it's a little deeper than that because it's man's best friend, like through history for tens of thousands of years. Like I would say dogs are a big reason for human success. That symbiotic relationship is very important on a really, I would almost say like on a spiritual level. So it just feels very, very wrong. Maybe that's just my subjective opinion, but it feels very, very wrong.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess, you know, if you look at even like an old Yeller, that movie, if you've seen that, where
Yeah.
he's got like rabies at the end, I guess I see, like, if I go a little deeper into it, it's like if the thing's gonna die anyway because it's got rabies and there's no solution for it at the time or whatever, it's going to die. That's almost like a sympathetic killing, right? Put him out of the misery, so to speak. But being a puppy, still so early in their development and clearly not trained. I don't know. I feel like a lack of effort was given there, and they went with a little bit of the easy choice there. I see what you're saying. So it's definitely subjective. But speaking about meat, did you see DeSantis has banned lab-grown meat?
I got a problem
back at
with
it
that.
again.
Yeah, he doesn't want lab-grown meat. I actually, last week was one bad one for libertarianism. Actually, it's been a bad decade. No, okay, whatever. This is getting a little too opinionated here on the USA Today. This must be an opinion piece. Oh, it is an opinion piece. But anyway, yeah, DeSantis' ban on lab-grown meat is the solution in search of a problem. Why would you ban growing lab-grown meat? It's really trying to get voters from, I would guess, ranchers or people growing real meat, I suppose, like cows or chickens or pork or otherwise pigs, right? But is this going to end up like Disney, where he loses popularity for going all in on something that people aren't even really focused on right now?
It's-
maybe.
I think I disagree with DeSantis. I don't think he should have done that. I think it's like you're taking somebody's. I don't know. I wish I knew the exact reason why he said he did it, but like let people eat what they want to eat. Like just let people decide. Like you're not the boss. Like don't tell people what they can and can't eat.
Yeah,
know?
I guess that's where the pharma industry comes in. It says, eat all the fat you want, then take Ozempic and be dependent on it forever. I don't know, but give people choices.
Interesting
I
with the
guess.
pharma, while we've been live, AstraZeneca has now been withdrawn worldwide. The AstraZeneca
the COVID
vaccine has been now withdrawn worldwide.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
It caused, after the pharmaceutical giant admitted it can cause a rare and dangerous side effect, according to the Telegraph. So the company admitted there are side effects, and it is now withdrawn.
Yeah, that was like 7 cases out of like 50,000 was sort of the incident or something like that. I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
it was even more
but
rare than that, but you're right. I
Enough
remember
to be
reading about this.
completely withdrawn.
Wow, they just got withdrawn completely. Yeah. I mean, is anybody actually even still taking the COVID vaccine? Is anybody in the comments, does anybody get the booster anymore? Like, do you guys get the booster?
It's not even promoted, so.
The CDC now calls it, safe to say it's basically a flu. I really think when it first came out, it was extremely virulent, like really bad. But I also think that's because it was a lab leak and it was purposefully like directed to evolve into something that was extremely bad. So it makes sense, like when it first came out as bad, then it gets into a normal environment and it just sort of becomes normal. Because, I mean, any common cold is a form of a coronavirus, and now this is just sort of added to the mix. I don't know, though. I don't know, it was a terrible time. But, yeah, I don't know if anybody actually, no, never. Somebody, okay, your Baba here says he takes it daily and has the best 5G service ever.
That's good.
My liberal in-laws still get it. I wonder, I'm trying to think if anybody I know still gets it. Anyway, I think if I was like, I don't know, would you get it if you were like really old?
Yeah, people
Maybe.
will say it's
you had
bad for
autoimmune,
your
you're
memory,
old.
it's bad for this, it's bad for that, but like death is bad for you too.
Yeah. Like if I'm like 90, like I might get like what do they call it? Isn't it like a mixture of everything now? You get the flu and the COVID one all in one or something like that. You know, it's like you're one cold away from dying. But then it's like, are you gonna? I don't know. Personal decision.
Do you guys think that there should be some sort of apology owed? Or do you guys think that the vaccines were completely appropriate?
Apology by whom? Like the companies that made them or the
by
government?
by the companies and I believe Biden, I'm paraphrasing, at one point said if you don't take the vaccine, like you will die. Along those lines, if you don't take the vaccine, you will die. So essentially fear mongering the entire country into taking a vaccine. And by companies requiring it, do you guys think that apologies are owed? I don't think they'll ever happen, but morally, do you think there should be some sort of apology owed?
Honestly, no. I mean, clarification, sure. Like after the fact, give us the real stats because it was like, you know, the fog of war at the time of not knowing. But the fact is, and I'll give you another anecdotal experience, in Bulgaria, people were terrified of the vaccine. They didn't want to take it. This is a form of government controlling you. So I don't know anybody in that country who took the vaccine. And the year that COVID came out, I would say literally over half of the people that I know age 50 and over died, like straight up. The majority of my family passed away in that year. So it's, you know, was Biden right in saying if you don't take it, you'll die? No, obviously that's not true because I know plenty of people who haven't taken it who are still alive. But was it like a fear monger for the greater good? I mean, I think so. None of it was perfect, but we didn't expect a lab leak or a global pandemic or anything like that.
I mean, Trump almost got taken out.
He was
Remember
sick.
when he was sick with COVID? He went to Walter Reed. He was beat up. I mean, it sounded like they gave him the monoclonal antibodies pretty quickly, and so he was able to, you know, get some good photos in his work desk over Walter Reed.
Had he taken the vaccine by then, or was it not out yet?
That's a really good question.
Did
when
he
he got
get one
sick.
of the first doses?
I don't know. That's a really good question. When did Trump sick with COVID? Walter Reed. When I remember
It's something interesting to kind of counter what I said was
October 2020, 1 month before the vax, 1 month and 4 days before the vax, because the vaxes came out November 7th.
Got it. Okay.
Shortly after the election.
Yeah, because Trump has never rescinded his comments, from what I understand, about the vaccine. And that's something that a lot of his MAGA supporters want him to do, is rescind his comments about the vaccine, saying how important it is. He has never, to my knowledge, rescinded his comments.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sorry for the side tangent.
That's interesting.
AstraZeneca, I thought wanted to hear what you guys thought.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so I think the last thing to touch on here is we had Dave & Buster's. Y'all been to Dave & Buster's? Adding gambling to their app. Well, it's wagering is what they're calling it. And basically, when you go to the app, at certain stores, if you're 18 years or older, you can now place bets on the games people are playing in the store. So let's say somebody's playing skee ball, or two people are playing skee ball. Theoretically, you could bet who's going to win. And then I don't know if you're going to earn money or credits or what, but
I feel like we should
Kinda
do
interesting.
boots on the ground research.
I was about to say the
I think
same.
we need to go do some boots on the ground research.
For all the viewers and investors, we'll give them that
I think
insight.
that's actually a really good suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I have another Apple. I have another Apple comment, Kevin. Remember a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, how you were poking fun at or poking eyeballs at Apple was spending $30 billion in R&D.
Yeah.
So like all of that R&D spend got us
1/10 of an inch.
a tenth of an inch and 0.5 millimeters difference. In,
I mean,
why
they-
is Apple spending so much money on R&D,
Yeah.
but we have so little innovation?
Well, the compute went up. Like it's 50% more CPU.
4x the graphics.
4x the graphics. They also like the iPad Airs are bigger. They have like the 13 and 15 inches now. But I think
11,
it's like
13, 11. Yeah.
13, 11. Yeah. So on the surface, like it might look the same, but I think what's happening underneath is innovative. Like it's progressing along really nicely. It's just not flashy. It's hard to sell like 4x the compute power or the graphics or whatever. People don't really care about that. It's not as flashy.
I did see a disappointing graph that the amount of apps have been made for the Vision Pro have just fallen off a cliff because Apple's being so difficult to work with. And it's just like people aren't adopting it like they thought. Like you just see the curve go up, like when it got announced, the app's being made, and then just falls off a cliff. So I don't know. I want to see these things take off. Like I thought the Vision Pro was cool technology, but like it created a good base of technology, but nobody has done anything. Or
It'll come. It'll take some time, and they got to get a little lighter and more comfortable. They'll keep going. I think a lot of the innovation from Apple right now is coming from the in-house chip designing they're doing. Remember, they just came out with. I mean, it's been probably it's been like 6 years, but they just came out with. I mean, they used to always use Intel. Now it's all M series chips.
I think it's
the
4
A
years.
series chips. Is it only 4? The first
Or
M series
3,
chip?
man. 2021.
No way.
2021, right after the campaign, I bought my MacBook, and that was soon after the first one came out, the
Apple
M1.
Silicon.
So I think 2021 is the M1 chip.
Unveiled November 10th of 2020 for the M1. So basically
So it
21.
came out 21, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
It's new.
And that is interesting. But they did make what about the A series chips? Because those were in the iPhones. Those were earlier, right? Because those were like 2017, I think. Apple chips. I'm going to find out. Apple Silicon. Where's the A series? A series. Here we go. Okay, so A series system on a chips for the iPhones. Well, they had an A4 since 2010. Oh, so they've been doing their own chips for a while for the iPad. That's where they started. I did not know that. That's very interesting. So that's where they got started on the iPad. But you're right. Okay, M1 was actually only 2020. Good call. But that's probably where the R&D is going. It's just their own chip design. Because you're really, I mean, what you should do is just compare the R&D spend at NVIDIA to the R&D spend at Apple. And so we could do that. I mean, I'll pull it up really quickly. If I grab their last Q4 on NVIDIA, the R&D at NVIDIA is, oh boy, I gotta find the darn thing. There we go. Research and development for the year ended January 28th, my birthday, 2024. Research and development was $14.2 billion. Oh, I feel like Apple's is way higher than that. $14.2 billion at NVIDIA. Let's go to Apple Investor Relations, SEC filings, 10Q. They probably spent $14 billion in the quarter, honestly. Apple. Research and development, yeah, in 3 months they're spending $8 billion. So they're spending about twice as much money on R&D as NVIDIA. And arguably NVIDIA's chips are like, I mean, they're cranking. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of R&D going on. Yeah, that's true. They're trying to build out the software side. So, I mean, I love Apple. I think they're a great company. I just have to be careful I'm not too fanboyish on them. I'm excited for June 10th. Disappointed in today, but maybe June 10th will enhance what we got today. Because if they say, hey, you can only do the new Siri AI, on the new chips, I'll get a new iPad. If it's good. And if it's good Siri. So, we'll see. That could be a really cool product refresh cycle. Anyway, anything else?
I'm set.
Think we're good. All right. Let's play the outro!
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities mentioned, including potential short positions. However, I have no relationship to any issuers, nor am I presently acting as a market maker.